When humanity's first FTL jump shatters galactic peace, an ancient alien council realizes their worst nightmare. Earth's quarantine has been broken, and the most dangerous species in the galaxy just announced its arrival to everyone, including the things that hunt in the dark. The Grand Galactic Council chamber floated in the void between stars, a crystalline monument to 10 million years of careful, deliberate civilization. Within its translucent walls, representatives of 847 species gathered in their customary formations. The elder races occupied the inner rings, their wisdom weighing heavy on every decision, while younger species sat in the outer tiers, still learning the ways of peaceful coexistence. The chamber hummed with the usual business of galactic governance, translating thousands of languages simultaneously, filtering atmospheric requirements, and maintaining the delicate balance that kept such diverse beings in one space. High Chancellor Vexnar of the Calthrine Concordat raised 3 of his sensory stalks, calling the emergency session to order. His bioluminescent markings pulsed with barely controlled anxiety, a display that sent immediate ripples of concern through the assembled delegates. In his 12,000 years of service, Vexnar had never called an emergency session. Not during the Hive Wars when 3 sectors burned. Not during the stellar cascade when a dozen stars went supernova in chain reaction. Not even when the Void Reapers had emerged from dark space, hungry and ancient. But today was different. Today, the humans had finally done it. Vexnar's voice carried across the chamber, translated instantly into every known language and communication method. Distinguished members of the Council, I regret to inform you that Quarantine Sector 847G has been breached. The species designated as Homo sapiens, commonly known as humans, have achieved faster-than-light travel. As of 6 standard cycles ago, a human vessel exited their quarantine zone and is currently traveling through the outer reaches at speeds we did not anticipate they could achieve for another 5 millennia. The reaction was immediate and catastrophic. A wave of chemical distress signals flooded the chamber. The Metherian delegate released a cloud of panic pheromones so thick that 3 nearby species had to activate their atmospheric shields. Ambassador Quilks of the Nested Thought Collective, a being composed of thousands of synchronized minds, let out a harmonic wail that shattered 2 viewing screens and caused the translation matrix to temporarily overload. The younger species in the outer rings looked around in confusion, unsure why their elders seemed so terrified. Ambassador Quilks's thousands of voices spoke in horrified unison. No, no, no! They were supposed to remain contained for at least another 5,000 cycles. We carefully calculated, that they wouldn't develop quantum fold technology until they had achieved philosophical maturity. The probability models were clear. They should still be arguing about borders and resources in primitive economic systems. Security Officer Threndar, a massive crystalline being whose species had served as the Council's peacekeepers for 3 million years, activated his central projection node. The air above the Council floor shimmered and resolved into a 3-dimensional image. It showed a vessel, crude by galactic standards but undeniably functional, tearing through space-time at velocities that should have been impossible for such a young species. The ship's design was chaotic, asymmetrical, a patchwork of different technologies that somehow worked in harmony. It looked like someone had taken 6 different ship designs and welded them together with determination and duct tape. Threndar's voice resonated through the chamber like grinding continental plates. The vessel is designated Indomitable by its crew. It appears to be a converted mining ship, retrofitted with a faster-than-light drive of their own design. Our analysis indicates they didn't follow any of the conventional FTL development paths. They didn't discover the quantum gardens like the Rel. They didn't find a precursor gate like the Thal. They didn't even stumble upon one of the Waymaker beacons. They just, and I'm quoting our xenotech analysts here, brute force their way through space-time using principles that theoretically shouldn't work but apparently do. Senator Krell of the Harmonious Assembly, a being of pure electromagnetic energy contained within a sophisticated field matrix, crackled with disbelief. Explain to this council how a species that only achieved spaceflight 247 solar cycles ago now possesses functional FTL capability. We've been monitoring their development. They were still launching chemical rockets when we last updated their file. Vexnar gestured to the central display, and a timeline appeared showing Earth's technological progression. The dates scrolled past at an alarming rate. The humans discovered fire approximately 1 million cycles ago. They developed agriculture only 10,000 cycles ago. Industrial revolution, 250 cycles ago. Atomic fission, 80 cycles ago. Space travel, 247 cycles ago. And now, faster than light travel. The progression is not gradual as we see with other species. It's exponential, explosive, unprecedented. A murmur of concern rippled through the council. The elder species exchanged worried glances, or their species equivalent. They had seen this pattern before, in the fragments of historical records that survived from before the last great galactic war, the war that had ended the progenitor civilizations and plunged the galaxy into darkness for 10 million years. Ambassador Shalara of the Contemplative Depths, a liquid-based life form whose species had existed for longer than most current civilizations, spoke in slow, measured tones that carried the weight of immense age. This council must recall the progenitor warnings. The sealed archives, the species designated as accelerators by the ancients. We were told to watch for this pattern. Rapid, aggressive technological advancement combined with, and she paused, seeming to choose her words carefully, certain behavioral characteristics. The chamber fell silent. Even the youngest species present knew of the progenitor warnings, though few knew the details. The archives were sealed, accessible only to the eldest council members and only in times of dire emergency. Vexnar's markings shifted to a deep purple, a color that signified both gravity and fear. Vexnar continued, his voice heavy with the burden of knowledge. The archives describe a species type that emerges rarely in galactic history, perhaps once every 50 million cycles. They are characterized by extreme adaptability, aggressive expansion, and a disturbing tendency toward what the progenitors called solution through force. But more concerning is their effect on galactic stability. According to the archives, the last time such a species reached the stars, it took 3,000 years and the combined might of 17 elder civilizations to contain them. The war that followed nearly destroyed all sentient life in this galaxy. A young delegate from the peaceful reaching, a species that had only joined the council 500 cycles ago, raised a tentative appendage. Honored Chancellor, perhaps we are overreacting? Surely any species that achieves space travel has learned cooperation and peace. That is the natural progression of civilization, is it not? Violence is inefficient. War is wasteful. Any species that continues such behaviors would destroy itself before achieving the stars. The naivety of youth, thought Vexnar. How he wished that were true. Observer Talvin, he called out. Please share the surveillance data from Quarantine Sector 847G, specifically, the analysis of human history and current behavioral patterns. A hunched figure emerged from the shadows of the upper gallery. Observer Talvin belonged to the Watchers, a species that had dedicated themselves to monitoring younger civilizations for the Council. They were patient, thorough, and utterly committed to data over emotion. Talvin's multiple eye stalks fixed on the assembly as he began his report. I have observed the humans for the last 500 of their solar cycles, Talvin began, his voice clinical and precise. My predecessor observed them for 1,000 cycles before me. Our findings are, to be diplomatic, deeply concerning. The humans are paradoxical. They are capable of profound compassion and horrific cruelty, often simultaneously. They create beautiful art while waging terrible wars. They develop medicines to save lives while creating weapons to end them more efficiently. Talvin brought up historical images from Earth. The Council watched in silence as scenes played out. Human history compressed into minutes. Empires rising and falling. Wars fought with sticks and stones, then swords and arrows, then bullets and bombs. Then weapons that could end all life on their planet. Through it all, humans persisted, adapted, overcame. They have fought approximately 15,000 documented wars in their recorded history, Talvin continued. Their planet has never known true global peace. Even now, as they reach for the stars, conflicts continue. But here is what makes them unique and dangerous. They do not let warfare stop progress. In fact, their greatest technological leaps often come during or immediately after their conflicts. They invented flight while preparing for war. They reached space as a byproduct of weapons development. They split the atom to create bombs, then used that same technology to power their cities. Ambassador Quilks interrupted, thousands of voices speaking in distressed harmony. But surely this is evidence they should have destroyed themselves. How have they not triggered their own extinction? Every model we have shows that violent species self-terminate before achieving interstellar capability. Talvin's eye stalk swiveled to focus on Quilk's. That is what makes them anomalous, Ambassador. They possess something that our models did not account for. They call it resilience, stubbornness, or sometimes, and this is translated from various human languages, spite. They refuse to die. More than that, they refuse to give up. When faced with extinction-level events, they do not accept their fate. They fight. When their planet goes through ice ages, they don't migrate to warmer regions and wait it out like sensible species. They conquer the ice. When diseases threaten their population, they don't accept natural culling. They invent medicine. When their resources run low, they don't reduce their population. They find more resources or create alternatives. The observer pulled up more data, streams of information flowing across the displays. Human literature is filled with stories of overcoming impossible odds, Talvin continued. They celebrate individuals who refuse to accept defeat. They create entertainment around concepts like never give up and against all odds. This isn't just cultural, it appears to be embedded in their psychology. They have a phrase, hold my beer, which roughly translates to, watch me do this obviously dangerous and ill-advised thing. They use it as a challenge. They enjoy proving others wrong. Senator Krell crackled with confusion. But this is madness. Surely such a species would be unstable, unpredictable, dangerous to themselves and others. Talvin's response was immediate and chilling. Yes, Senator, precisely. Now imagine that species with that psychology spreading across the galaxy. Imagine them encountering barriers and deciding those barriers are merely challenges to overcome. Imagine them seeing our carefully maintained peace and wondering why we don't strive for more. The chamber erupted in noise. Delegates shouted, clicked, hummed, and broadcast their concerns in every conceivable form of communication. The translation matrix struggled to keep up. Vexnar had to pulse his authority markers 3 times to restore order. When the chamber had quieted to acceptable levels, Vexnar spoke again. There is more you need to know. 3 cycles ago, before the humans breached quarantine, we conducted a deep analysis of their communications and cultural data. We wanted to understand how they thought about first contact. What we discovered was, he paused, searching for the right words, unprecedented. The display changed, showing what appeared to be human entertainment media. Scene after scene played out, showing humanity's imagined encounters with alien life. Some showed peaceful meetings, diplomatic exchanges, and mutual cooperation. But many, far too many, showed conflict. Humans fighting alien invasions. Humans conquering alien worlds. Humans standing defiant against vastly superior forces and somehow winning. They have spent decades preparing themselves mentally for meeting us. Vexnar continued. But not in the way most species do. Most young civilizations dream of joining a galactic community, of learning from elder races, of finding their place in a larger universe. Humans have certainly created such scenarios, but they have also created hundreds of scenarios where aliens are threats to be overcome. They have imagined wars with species that don't exist. They have strategized about how to fight enemies they've never met. They have entire genres of entertainment dedicated to humanity's triumph over superior alien forces. Ambassador Shalara's liquid form rippled with concern. This suggests a predisposition toward viewing other species as potential threats rather than potential friends. A defensive mentality rooted in their evolutionary history as prey animals turned apex predators on their world. Actually, Talvin interjected, it's more complex than that. They also have extensive cultural material showing peaceful cooperation with aliens. They imagine alien friends, alien mentors, and alien partners. The human capacity for hope and cooperation is as strong as their capacity for violence. They contain multitudes, as one of their poets wrote. They are simultaneously the most welcoming and most suspicious species we've monitored. They want to believe in peaceful coexistence, but they prepare for war. They hope for the best, but plan for the worst. Threndar, who had been silent during much of the discussion, finally spoke again. The Council should be aware of another factor. 3 days ago, we intercepted human communications from the Indomitable. The crew is aware they've left their solar system. They know they might encounter other intelligent life. Would the Council like to hear what they said? Vexnar gestured his assent, and Threndar activated an audio file. Human voices filled the chamber, translated into each delegate's native language. Captain Martinez. Well, team, we did it. We're officially the first humans in interstellar space. How do you feel? Decatur Okonkwo. Terrified, excited, mostly terrified. Did you see the way space folded when we activated the drive? That shouldn't be possible according to every theory we have. Engineer Kowalski. And yet here we are, making the impossible possible. That's what humanity does best. Someone says you can't, and we say watch us. Captain Martinez, let's talk about the elephant in the room. If we can do this, others can too. We might not be alone out here. We might meet someone. Dr. Chen. The odds of encountering intelligent life in the vastness of space are still astronomically low, but yes, it's possible. The question is, what do we do if we meet them? Engineer Kowalski, we shake their hand, or tentacle, or whatever they have. We're explorers, not conquerors. Captain Martinez, agreed, but we stay ready. We're carrying humanity's first step into a larger universe. We represent everyone back home. We're friendly, we're open, but we're not stupid. We observe, we learn. We protect ourselves if necessary. But most importantly, we prove that humanity belongs among the stars. The recording ended. The chamber was silent for a long moment. Senator Krell spoke first, his electromagnetic field pulsing with grudging respect. They sound reasonable, cautious but hopeful. Perhaps we have misjudged them? Vexnar's markings shifted through a complex pattern of colors that indicated deep concern mixed with reluctant admiration. That is precisely what worries me, Senator. They sound reasonable because they are reasonable. They're not mindless warmongers or genocidal maniacs. They're explorers trying to do the right thing. But they're also products of their evolution and history. They are survivors who have learned that the universe doesn't care about their survival. So they must. They have developed technology that should have taken them 5,000 more cycles in less than 300. They have done so while maintaining enough social cohesion to launch a mission like this. That combination of rapid advancement and maintained unity is, according to the Progenitor Archives, the hallmark of an accelerator species. Ambassador Quilks's thousands of voices hummed in distress. So what do? We cannot uninvent their FTL drive. We cannot force them back into quarantine. The Galactic Conventions forbid forced containment of sapient species who have achieved interstellar travel on their own merits. We are bound by our own laws. Councillor Vreenak of the Judicial Enclave, a species known for their strict interpretation of galactic law, spoke up for the first time. Ambassador Quilks is correct. According to Convention 47, Article 12, any species that achieves faster-than-light travel through their own innovation is granted provisional member status in the Galactic Council. We cannot deny them this right without becoming the very oppressors our conventions were designed to prevent. Our civilization was built on the ashes of the progenitor wars, specifically to avoid such tyranny. But we can guide them. Interjected Senator Mora of the Diplomatic Corps. We can carefully introduce them to galactic society, control their interactions, limit their expansion, give them territories in less populated sectors, monitor their development, help them evolve beyond their violent tendencies. Talvin's eye stalks quivered in what his species used to indicate disagreement. With respect, Senator, I don't believe humans respond well to being controlled. Our cultural analysis suggests they have a deep-seated resistance to authority. They haven't chosen themselves. They have fought wars lasting decades to escape control by others. They have overthrown empires, both their own and those imposed upon them. The concept of freedom is central to much of their political philosophy. If we attempt to restrict them too obviously, they will resist. And if their history is any guide, they are very good at resistance. The chamber buzzed with concerned discussion. This was the nightmare scenario the Council had been designed to prevent. A species too advanced to ignore, too dangerous to welcome, and too protected by law to suppress. The very foundations of galactic civilization, built over 10 million years of careful progress, suddenly seemed fragile. Vexnar raised his sensory stalks for attention once more. There is another matter we must discuss. The humans who built the Indomitable did not have access to the full resources of their species. This was a private venture, funded by what they call corporations and wealthy individuals. Their governments were not involved. Do you understand what this means? The implications hit the Council like a shockwave. Ambassador Shalara's liquid form actually splashed against the walls of her containment field. You're saying that this achievement, this impossible technological leap, was accomplished by a small group of humans working independently, without the full might of their civilization behind them? Exactly, Vexnar confirmed. According to our intelligence, The largest human governmental bodies were actually trying to slow down private space development due to safety concerns and political complications. The Indomitable was built in secret, launched without official permission, and is currently operating outside any governmental authority. And here's the most troubling part. When their governments found out, instead of being universally condemned, the crew became heroes to a significant portion of their population. Humans celebrated that they had broken their own rules to reach the stars. Observer Talvin added more information to the display. The human internet, their global communication network, exploded with reactions when news of the Indomitable's successful FTL jump was leaked. I've been monitoring their chatter. Here are some representative samples. The display filled with translated human comments. This is the greatest achievement in human history. They did it. We're finally a spacefaring species. If governments won't take us to the stars, corporations will. I don't care who does it as long as it gets done. Today we became immortal as a species. Today we became citizens of the universe. But there were also more concerning messages. If there are aliens out there, they'd better be friendly. We didn't claw our way to the top of Earth's food chain to bow to some galactic empire. Independence among the stars. Humanity bows to no one. We take what's ours. The universe is our birthright. Counselor Vreenak spoke again, his voice grave. We see the duality Observer Talvin described. Hope and aggression, cooperation and independence. They want to join the cosmic community, but on their terms. They want peace but won't accept domination. This is actually very similar to how the progenitors described themselves in the earliest archives, before their fall. The mention of the progenitors in that context sent another wave of fear through the council. The progenitors had been the first to achieve interstellar civilization in this galaxy. They had also been the ones whose civil wars had nearly sterilized it. The sealed archives contained warnings written by the last progenitor survivors, begging future civilizations to learn from their mistakes. To build slowly, to prioritize peace over progress, to never ever allow another accelerator species to spread unchecked. High Chancellor Vexnar made a decision. This council is faced with an unprecedented situation. We cannot imprison the humans without violating our most sacred laws. We cannot ignore them without risking galactic stability. We cannot destroy them, both because it would be morally reprehensible and because, he paused, our military advisors have run simulations. A preemptive strike on humanity would likely fail to eliminate them completely, and would transform them from potential allies into confirmed enemies. A wounded humanity would be far more dangerous than a welcomed one. So we welcome them? Ambassador Quilks asked, thousands of voices dripping with skepticism. We invite a species of aggressive, stubborn, creative, resilient survivors into our carefully balanced civilization and hope for the best? Vexnar's markings pulsed with determination. Not exactly. We welcome them, yes, but we also prepare. We study them. We guide them carefully. We make them want to be part of our civilization rather than tear it down. We appeal to their better nature, their hope and idealism, while quietly preparing for their worse nature. We become their friends, their mentors, and if necessary, their deterrent. Security Officer Threndar's crystalline form refracted light in patterns that suggested approval. A multi-layered approach, diplomacy first but with strength held in reserve. It's what we should have done with the Hive before their war, what we wished we had done with the Void Reapers before their emergence. We have a chance to do this right, to welcome a new species without either oppressing them or being overwhelmed by them. Ambassador Shalara's ancient voice filled the chamber once more. I will volunteer to lead the first contact team. My species has experience with younger civilizations. We remember what it was like to be new to the stars, to feel both terrified and exhilarated by the infinite possibilities. Perhaps I can help the humans understand that we are not their enemies, but also that the galaxy is more complex than they imagine. Vexnar nodded his approval. Thank you, Ambassador. Your wisdom will be invaluable. But I must ask, what will you say to them? How do you explain 10 million years of galactic history to a species that has been spacefaring for less than 300 cycles? How do you warn them about dangers they cannot yet comprehend without terrifying them or insulting them? The truth, Shalara responded simply. Not all of it at once, perhaps, but the truth nonetheless. Humans strike me as a species that values honesty, even uncomfortable honesty. We tell them they are not the first to reach the stars. We tell them there are rules developed over millions of years that help keep the peace. We tell them they are welcome to join us, but that membership comes with responsibilities. And we tell them that we are cautiously optimistic about their species, which is itself true. Talvin spoke up again. Ambassador, I recommend you understand something about humans before you meet them. They have a concept they call the underdog. They instinctively root for those facing long odds. They sympathize with the weak against the strong, the small against the large. If you present the Council as an ancient, powerful organization that could crush them if we chose, you will trigger their defensive instincts. But if you present us as a diverse community that has survived by cooperation rather than domination, they will be more receptive. Also, added Threndar, be prepared for questions. Humans are intensely curious. They will want to know everything. Where we come from, how we live, what technologies we have, what we've seen. Their curiosity is nearly pathological. They dissect, analyze, and study everything they encounter. It's part of what makes them such rapid learners. But it also means they don't accept because we said so as an answer. Senator Krell flickered thoughtfully. Should we reveal the existence of this council session? That we've been monitoring them? That we knew about them before they knew about us? Absolutely not, said Ambassador Quilks immediately. That would be catastrophic. They would feel spied upon, studied like laboratory animals. Their sense of privacy and autonomy would be violated. We must present this as a happy coincidence. Our sensors detecting their FTL signature, our diplomatic vessels happening to be nearby. Talvin's eye stalks swiveled in disagreement again. Actually, I believe we should tell them the truth. Humans have something they call trust issues. They are suspicious of those who keep secrets, especially those in positions of power. If they discover later that we've been watching them for centuries, that we've debated their fate without their knowledge, that we've lied about when we first knew of them, they will never truly trust us. Better to be honest now and deal with their anger than to build a relationship on deception. The debate continued for hours. Every aspect of first contact was analyzed, debated, and planned. What language to use, whether to meet them in space or invite them to a council facility. How many species to include in the initial contact, what information to share and what to withhold. The council had first contact protocols, of course, refined over millions of years, but they had never encountered a species quite like humanity, and the standard approaches suddenly seemed inadequate. Finally, Vexnar called for a vote. All in favor of proceeding with first contact according to Modified Protocol 7, which includes honest disclosure of our prior observation. Please indicate the chamber filled with lights, sounds, and signals as delegates voted. The motion passed, though not unanimously. Several species abstained, clearly uncomfortable with the decision but unwilling to oppose it. Very well, Vexnar announced. Ambassador Shalara will lead a first contact team to intercept the Indomitable within the next 3 cycles. Observer Talvin will accompany her as a human cultural specialist. Security Officer Threndar will provide escort at a discreet distance. The team is authorized to extend an invitation to Earth for formal diplomatic relations and provisional council membership. He paused, his markings shifting to a deep, serious blue. May the ancients guide us. We are about to change the course of galactic history. Whether for better or worse, we will not know for some time. But know this, the humans are coming. They are already here, and they will not be stopped, contained, or controlled. Our only choice is whether to greet them as friends or prepare to face them as rivals. I choose friendship, with eyes open and defenses ready. 3 light years from the council chamber, Captain Maria Martinez floated in the observation deck of the Indomitable, staring at the impossible. Space looked different at FTL speeds. The stars weren't points of light but stretched threads. Reality itself bending around their bubble of normal space-time. According to every physics textbook, what they were doing was impossible. According to their instruments, they were traveling at approximately 4 times the speed of light. According to Maria's gut, they were either the bravest or stupidest people in human history. Captain, Dr. Yuki Chen's voice came through her earpiece. We're detecting something. It's not natural. There's a mass signature about 2 light hours ahead, but it's not matching any stellar object. It's too regular, too symmetrical. Maria's heart rate increased. She'd been expecting this, dreading this, hoping for this all at the same time. If it's what I think it is, she said calmly, wake everyone and get them to their stations. No alarms yet. Let's not panic until we know we have something to panic about. And Chen, she added. Make absolutely sure our weapons are offline and our transponder is broadcasting on all frequencies that we're peaceful explorers. The last thing we need is to start humanity's first interstellar war by accident. 20 minutes later, the entire crew of 15 humans was assembled in the command center, a cramped space filled with repurposed mining equipment and cutting-edge FTL components that had no business working together, but somehow did. Engineer Kowalski had christened their creation the duct tape drive, and the name had stuck despite Dr. Okonkwo's protest that it was technically a quantum probability matrix manipulator, dropping to sublight in 30 seconds, announced pilot Sarah Washington, her hands steady on controls that were half military surplus and half custom built. Everyone hold on to something. We've only done this twice before and both times felt like getting hit by a truck. The transition was brutal. Space snapped back into normal geometry with a force that threw anyone not strapped down against the walls. Alarms blared. The lights flickered. Something in engineering made a sound like a dying whale, but they were through back in normal space and alive. Status report, Maria called out. Engineering green, Kowalski responded. Well, yellow-green. More like greenish-yellow. We're functional, put it that way. Sensors are clearing, Chen announced, getting a better picture of that mass signature. Oh my God. Captain, you need to see this. The main screen resolved into clarity and 15 humans stared in absolute silence at proof that they were not alone in the universe. The structure was massive, easily 10 times the size of the Indomitable, and it was clearly artificial. Smooth curves combined with geometric precision, materials that didn't reflect light normally, energy signatures that made their sensors scream with confusion. And it was beautiful, designed with an aesthetic sense that was utterly alien yet somehow pleasing to human eyes. Is it? Started their linguist Marcus Obasanjo, his voice trailing off. Is that a spaceship? Maria found her voice. Only one way to find out. Chen, any signs of hostility? Weapons? Shields? Anything that looks like they're preparing to blow us out of space? Nothing overt, Chen replied, her voice shaking slightly. But Captain, they've been scanning us. Active sensors, passive sensors, things that might be sensors but work on principles I don't recognize. They know we're here. They're studying us just like we're studying them. Kowalski laughed, slightly manic. So what do? We didn't exactly cover first contact with alien species in the training manual. Which we didn't have because we built this ship in someone's warehouse without permission. We do what humans do best, Maria said, surprising herself with the steadiness in her voice. We reach out. We communicate. We show them we're intelligent, curious, and hopefully worth talking to. Obasanjo, send a message on all frequencies. Mathematics first, prime numbers, that universal constant stuff. Then linguistics, basic greetings in every human language we have recorded. And then she paused. Send them Beethoven's Ninth Symphony. If we're representing humanity, we might as well show them we're not just tool-using apes. As Obasanjo worked, Dr. Okonkwo spoke quietly. Captain, this is incredible. This is first contact. We're making first contact. Humanity's first conversation with another intelligent species. And it's happening on a jury-rigged mining ship in the middle of nowhere with a crew of 15 misfits who couldn't follow orders if their lives depended on it. Maria smiled. Okonkwo, that's the most human thing about this. We didn't wait for permission. We didn't wait for governments to agree or for perfect conditions. We saw the stars and decided we belong there. That's what we're going to tell them. That's who we are. We're the species that looked at impossible odds and said, hold my beer. Message away, Obasanjo announced. If they're listening, they'll hear us. If they can decode it, they'll know we're trying to communicate. And if they have any sense of music, they'll know Beethoven was a genius. Now we wait, Maria said. But crew, I want you to know whatever happens next, you're all heroes. You took humanity to the stars. You proved it could be done. Even if this goes badly, even if they're hostile or we screw this up completely, you've changed everything. Earth will never be the same. Humanity will never be the same. Captain, Washington interrupted, the alien vessel is moving. They're approaching us, slowly, non-threateningly, but definitely approaching. All hands to stations, Maria ordered. Power up defensive systems, but do not arm weapons. Do not give them any reason to think we're hostile. Chen, keep scanning. Kowalski, make sure that drive is ready for emergency FTL if we need to run. Obasanjo, keep broadcasting. And everyone, remember, we're ambassadors now. For better or worse, we represent every human who ever looked up at the stars and wondered what was out there. Don't screw it up. Ambassador Shalara observed the human vessel from the bridge of the diplomatic envoy, her liquid form rippling with anticipation and concern. The ship was exactly as the reports had described, crude, asymmetrical, held together by determination and what humans apparently called duct tape. It shouldn't be functional. By every conventional understanding of engineering, it should tear itself apart, and yet here it was, not only functional but elegant in its chaos. Observer Talvin stood beside her, his eye stalks fixed on the display. They're broadcasting, he said. Mathematics, linguistics, and, he paused, music. They're sending us music. It's quite beautiful, actually. Emotional, passionate, very human. Shalara rippled in amusement. What do you sense from them, Observer? You've studied them longer than anyone. What are they feeling right now? Terror and excitement in equal measure, Talvin replied. Their biosigns are elevated. Adrenaline, cortisol, dopamine, all the stress hormones. But also oxytocin, serotonin, the bonding and happiness chemicals. They're terrified of us, but also thrilled to meet us. It's the human paradox again. They want this encounter, but they're also preparing for it to go wrong. Their defensive systems are powered up, but their weapons are cold. They're hoping for peace while preparing for war. Exactly as we are, Shalara observed. Perhaps we're not so different after all. Open a channel. Let's introduce ourselves. The communication was established, a mixture of radio waves, quantum entanglement, and electromagnetic pulses that would hopefully bridge the gap between their species. Shalara composed herself, drawing on millennia of diplomatic experience, and began to speak. Greetings, travelers from the third planet of the star you call Sol. I am Ambassador Shalara of the Contemplative Depths, representing the Galactic Council. We welcome you to the interstellar community. You are not alone in the universe. You never have been. On the Indomitable, 15 humans stood frozen in shock. The voice, translated into perfect English by technology they couldn't begin to understand, was gentle, almost maternal. The screen showed a being of liquid light, constantly shifting, beautiful and alien and utterly impossible. Holy shit, Kowalski whispered. Holy shit, they're real. They're actually real. Captain Martinez shook herself back to awareness. This is Captain Maria Martinez of the human vessel Indomitable, representing Earth and its people. We come in peace. We seek knowledge, understanding, and hopefully friendship. She paused, searching for words. We are honored to meet you. Shalara rippled with what might have been a smile. The honor is mutual, Captain Martinez. Your species has accomplished something remarkable. You have achieved faster-than-light travel through your own innovation and determination. This is, in galactic history, quite rare. Most species find the remains of older civilizations and build upon their technology. You built from first principles. This speaks well of human ingenuity. Maria felt a surge of pride, quickly tempered by suspicion. You speak our language perfectly. You know our planet's designation. You've been watching us, haven't you? For how long? Talvin spoke up, his multiple voices creating an odd harmony through the translator. Captain, my name is Observer Talvin. To answer your question honestly, yes. We have been observing Earth for approximately 1,500 of your years. This is standard practice for the Council. We monitor developing civilizations to understand them before first contact. We mean no offense by this observation. It is done to protect both your species and ours. Maria felt her crew tense around her. 1,500 years. They'd been watching for 1,500 years. Through the Dark Ages, the Renaissance, the Industrial Revolution, the World Wars, everything, humanity's entire modern history, observed and recorded by alien eyes. And what, Maria asked, her voice carefully controlled, did you conclude about us? What did your centuries of observation tell you about humanity? Shalara answered, her tone carefully neutral. That you are complex, Captain. You are capable of great beauty and terrible cruelty. You build and destroy with equal passion. You are fiercely independent yet deeply social. You are logical and emotional, peaceful and warlike, generous and selfish often simultaneously. You are, in short, paradoxical, and that makes you both fascinating and concerning. Concerning, Maria repeated. That's a diplomatic way of saying dangerous, isn't it? Talvin's eye stalk swiveled in what might have been a nod. Yes, Captain. To be blunt, your species frightens much of the Galactic Council. You have advanced technologically at a rate we have rarely seen. You have done so while maintaining significant internal conflicts. You possess weapons capable of destroying your own planet. Yet you haven't used them in 80 years. You wage wars but also build institutions dedicated to peace. You are unpredictable, and the galaxy, Captain Martinez, has learned over millions of years that unpredictability can be dangerous. Dr. Okonkwo spoke up, his voice tight with barely suppressed anger. So what are you saying? That humanity needs to be controlled? Monitored? Contained? That we're too dangerous to be allowed to spread to the stars? Shalara's form pulsed with a color that the translator helpfully interpreted as regret. No, Dr. Okonkwo. What we are saying is that we understand why you might be angry to learn of our observation. What we are saying is that despite our concerns, we choose to welcome you. You have earned your place among the stars through your own efforts. The Galactic Convention's laws developed over 10 million years protect your right to exist as an interstellar species. No one can take that from you, but we sincerely hope, that you will choose to join our community rather than forge your own path alone. Maria took a deep breath. She'd trained for combat, for emergency situations, for technical failures. She'd never trained for this. Nobody had. She was about to make decisions that would echo through human history, and she was making them in a converted mining ship with a crew of misfits and dreamers. Ambassador Shalara, she said slowly, I appreciate your honesty. I do. It's more than I expected, to be frank. But you need to understand something about humans. We don't respond well to being told we're dangerous or unpredictable. We've spent our entire history being underestimated and overestimated, usually by each other. We've been called savages and geniuses, saints and sinners, visionaries and fools, usually all in the same day. She paused, gathering her thoughts. You're right that we're paradoxical. We contain multitudes. We're capable of horrific violence and profound compassion. But you know what else we're capable of? Growth, change, learning. Every human society that has ever existed has been a work in progress. We make mistakes. God knows we make mistakes, but we also try to do better. We build on what came before. We learn from our failures. Sometimes slowly, sometimes painfully, but we learn. Shalara listened in silence as Maria continued. You say we frighten the Council. I understand that. We frighten ourselves sometimes. But fear isn't a reason to keep us isolated. Fear is a reason to reach out, to communicate, to build understanding. If your council is afraid of what humanity might become, then help us become something better. Share your wisdom. Show us what you've learned in your millions of years among the stars. Don't treat us like children to be managed or threats to be contained. Treat us like the adults we're trying desperately to become. The silence stretched for a long moment. Then Talavin spoke, his multiple voices carrying an emotion the translator marked as surprised respect. Captain Martinez, you have just articulated in 2 minutes what some council species take centuries to understand. That cooperation is stronger than containment. That potential allies are preferable to controlled subjects. You may be more ready for galactic civilization than we anticipated. Marcus Obasanjo, who had been quiet until now, spoke up. Ambassador Observer, I have a question. You mentioned the Galactic Council has been around for 10 million years. That's incomprehensible to us. Human civilization is maybe 10,000 years old, depending on how you count. We've only had writing for 5,000 years, radio for about 130. What could we possibly offer to civilizations that are millions of years old? Shalara's form brightened, and the translator interpreted it as genuine pleasure. Linguist Obasanjo, that is an excellent question. And the answer might surprise you. You offer perspective, fresh eyes, new ideas. You see, the Council is old, very old, and with age comes both wisdom and ossification. We have developed incredible technologies and profound philosophies. We have eliminated war, poverty, and disease from most member worlds. We have created a society that has lasted longer than many stars. But, she continued, we have also become comfortable, predictable, risk-averse. We make decisions slowly because we consider every consequence across millennia. We build nothing new because we have perfected the old. We explore cautiously because we have seen what dangers the universe holds. Your species, Linguist Obasanjo, represents something we have not seen in a very long time. Urgency, passion, the willingness to try things that might fail because the potential reward is worth the risk. You are uncomfortable, but perhaps that discomfort is what the galaxy needs. Kowalski laughed, surprising everyone. So what you're saying is, The galaxy is having a midlife crisis and humanity is the sports car you're thinking about buying. That's either the best or worst analogy I've ever heard. Talvin's eye stalks quivered in what might have been amusement. In a crude sense, Engineer Kowalski, yes. Though I prefer to think of it as the galaxy recognizing that perfect stability is not the same as perfect health. A body that never experiences stress never grows stronger. A mind that never faces challenges never develops wisdom. Humanity may be the stress test the Council needs to evolve beyond our current comfortable stasis. Dr. Chen, who had been monitoring sensors throughout the conversation, spoke up. Ambassador, I'm detecting multiple other vessels approaching this location. Some of them are significantly larger than yours. Should we be concerned? Shalara's form rippled reassuringly. Those are other Council members, Dr. Chen. Word of your arrival has spread quickly through the diplomatic channels. Many species wish to observe this first contact. I assure you none of them are hostile. Though I should warn you, some of them will be quite enthusiastic. The joyful clusters, for instance, are known for their exuberant greetings. Try not to be alarmed when they start broadcasting celebration harmonics at volumes you might find uncomfortable. As if on cue, the Indomitable's sensors registered a new contact. Then another. Then a dozen more. Within minutes, they were surrounded by vessels of every conceivable design. Organic-looking ships that seemed grown rather than built. Geometric constructs of pure energy. Massive stations that folded through space. Small, elegant craft that danced between the larger vessels. It was a fleet, a gathering, a convergence of civilizations that had existed longer than humanity could comprehend. Captain, Washington said quietly, I'm reading over 40 distinct vessel types. Some of them are reading off the scale for size and energy output. If they wanted to, they could vaporize us without even noticing. But they won't, Maria said with more confidence than she felt. Because they're curious about us. They want to see what we'll do. How we'll react, whether we'll panic or stay calm, whether humanity deserves to join their community. She activated her communicator to address the entire crew. Listen up, everyone, this is it. This is the moment every human who ever looked up at the stars dreamed about. We are meeting our neighbors. We are introducing Earth to the galaxy, and we're going to do it with dignity, courage, and maybe just a little bit of that human audacity that got us here in the first place. Show them who we are. Show them what we can be. Make Earth proud. She turned back to the communication screen. Ambassador Shalara, on behalf of humanity and the people of Earth, we accept your welcome. We would be honored to learn more about the Galactic Council and explore the possibility of joining your community. We have much to learn and apparently much to teach. We're ready to take our place among the stars, wherever that might lead. The next several hours were overwhelming in a way that no human could have prepared for. The Indomitable was invited to dock with the diplomatic envoy, a process that required careful coordination between wildly different technologies. Engineers from 6 species worked together to create compatible docking mechanisms on the fly, improvising solutions that would have taken human bureaucracies months to approve. Kowalski was in heaven, comparing notes with a silicon-based engineer who communicated through crystalline resonances. When the airlock finally opened and the crew of the Indomitable stepped into the envoy, they were greeted by a sight that would have driven Renaissance painters mad with inspiration. The reception hall was enormous, with an atmosphere carefully balanced to be breathable by as many species as possible. It was filled with beings that defied description, creatures of light and shadow, beings that existed partially in other dimensions, swarms of insects that thought as one, ancient entities that had seen galaxies form and die. Welcome, humans, announced a being that appeared to be made of crystallized sound. We are the Harmonious Assembly. We have waited long to meet you. A blob of gelatinous material that somehow conveyed immense joy pulsed forward. I am Speaker Glix of the Joyful Clusters. Your music was beautiful. Do you have more? Can you make music with us? We have been practicing. Dr. Okonkwo was approached by a floating brain and a jar of luminescent fluid. I am Scholar Thex of the Archive Collective. The being communicated telepathically. Your species' scientific method is fascinating. So chaotic yet so effective. I have 17,000 questions. May we begin? Maria watched her crew spread out through the hall, each human gravitating toward different aliens. Barriers of fear dissolving into curiosity and excitement. This was humanity at its best, she thought. Open, enthusiastic, eager to learn and share. This was what they could be if they could just get past their own worst instincts. Ambassador Shalara floated up beside her. Your crew adapts quickly, Captain. Many species require days or weeks to overcome their initial fear of truly alien forms. Your people seem almost excited by the strangeness. Maria smiled. Humans have a saying. The only constant is change. We've spent our entire history adapting to new environments, new ideas, new cultures. When humans first left Africa, we spread across an entire planet adapting to every climate and condition. We learned to thrive in deserts and ice caps, jungles and plains. We learned to work with hundreds of different human cultures, each with their own languages and customs and beliefs. Alien doesn't scare us, Ambassador. Alien is just the next frontier. Shalara rippled with approval. I begin to understand why Observer Talvin was both concerned and impressed. You are not a species that will be easily discouraged or intimidated. The galaxy has not seen your like in a very long time. They were interrupted by a disturbance at the far end of the hall. A group of beings more militaristic in bearing than the enthusiastic diplomats entered with purpose. They were led by Security Officer Threndar, whose crystalline form refracted light in sharp, aggressive angles. Threndar approached Maria with Shalara. Captain Martinez, I apologize for interrupting your reception. However, there is a matter we must discuss urgently. It concerns your vessel's faster-than-light drive. Maria felt her guard go up immediately. What about it? Threndar's form pulsed with concern. We've completed our analysis of your FTL signature. Captain, your drive is more advanced than you realize. In fact, it's more advanced than it should be possible for a species of your development level to create. The quantum principles you're manipulating, the way you've solved the causality problems inherent in FTL travel, these solutions took most Council species thousands of years to achieve. You did it in less than a decade. Kowalski, who had drifted over when he heard the conversation getting serious, spoke up. Is that a problem? I mean, yeah, we cut some corners and ignored some theories that said it was impossible, but it works. Sometimes the best way to solve an impossible problem is to not know it's impossible. That philosophy, Threndar said slowly, is exactly what concerns us. Captain Engineer, you need to understand something. Your FTL drive is leaving a trail through spacetime. Every jump you make creates ripples that propagate through multiple dimensions. These ripples are detectable. More importantly, they're distinctive. Anyone with the right sensors can detect them, track them, and potentially follow them back to their point of origin. Maria felt a chill run down her spine. You're saying we left a trail back to Earth? Anyone who wants to find us can just follow our wake. Not just anyone, Threndar clarified. Most Council species use FTL methods that don't leave such obvious signatures, but there are others, beings that exist outside the Council that would be very interested in a species capable of creating such energetic FTL drives, the kind of beings we spend considerable resources keeping away from younger civilizations. What kind of beings? Dr. Chen asked, her scientific curiosity warring with growing dread. Shalara answered, her form darkening. The galaxy is vast, Dr. Chen. The Council represents the civilized species, those who have chosen peace and cooperation. But there are others. Nomadic fleets that view younger species as resources to be exploited. Hive minds that assimilate technology and biology from everyone they encounter. Entities so alien that communication is impossible. Beings that simply consume everything in their path. We keep them away from developing worlds. We maintain barriers, quarantine zones, protected spaces. Earth was in one such zone. Until now. Maria felt the weight of what they'd done settle on her shoulders. We've rung the dinner bell, haven't we? By breaking out of our quarantine zone with such a loud, obvious method, we've announced to everyone in the galaxy that humanity is here. We're delicious, and we don't know how to defend ourselves. Talvin joined the group, his eye stalks drooping with concern. It's worse than that, Captain. The Council had multiple layers of protection around your solar system, sensor blackouts that made your system appear lifeless, gravitational anomalies that made it difficult to navigate nearby, hazard warnings in multiple frequencies. These protections were specifically designed to make Earth uninteresting to potential threats. They've been in place for approximately 3,000 of your years. 3,000 years, Obasanjo interjected. But you said you've only been observing us for 1,500 years. Talvin's expression was grim. We have been actively observing for 1,500 years, yes, but the protections are much older. They were put in place when our long-range surveys detected that your world harbored intelligent life that was advancing rapidly. The Council decided that humanity needed protection before we needed observation. We've been quietly keeping your world safe while you developed, hoping you would mature before you attracted attention. And now, Maria asked, though she dreaded the answer. Now, Threndar said bluntly, those protections are compromised. Your FTL signature punched through them like they weren't even there. Anyone monitoring this region of space now knows there's something interesting in your solar system. We can try to reinforce the protections, but the secret is out. Earth is on the map. Dr. Okonkwo's voice was shaking. How long do we have? Before something hostile comes looking? That depends, Shalara answered, on who detected your signature, how curious they are, and how quickly they can mount an expedition. It could be days. It could be years. But Captain Martinez, you need to understand, humanity is no longer safe in isolation. Your species has achieved something remarkable, but you've also painted a target on your homeworld. The celebratory atmosphere in the hall had shifted. Other conversations had stopped as more aliens became aware of the serious discussion happening. The joyful clusters had ceased their enthusiastic bouncing. Even the harmonious assembly had fallen silent. Maria looked around at her crew, saw the fear and guilt on their faces. They'd wanted to prove humanity could reach the stars. They'd succeeded beyond their wildest dreams. But they'd also potentially endangered every human being on Earth. So what do we do? Maria asked. Do we go home and warn them? Do we try to shut down every FTL program on Earth? Do we hide and hope nobody comes looking? You do what humanity has always done, a new voice said. Everyone turned to see a being that hadn't been there moments before. It was humanoid in shape, but seemed to exist in a state of quantum uncertainty, simultaneously solid and transparent, present and absent. The translator identified it as Ambassador Crix of the Uncertain States. You adapt, Crix continued, his form flickering. You learn. You prepare. The Council has existed for 10 million years, Captain Martinez. We have weathered countless storms. We have faced horrors that would break younger species. We have survived because we help each other. You are not alone anymore. The moment you exited your quarantine zone, you became our responsibility. And more than that, you became our family. Threndar's crystalline form softened slightly. Ambassador Crix is correct. Captain, the Council is prepared to extend full military protection to your homeworld. We have defense fleets, warning systems, and deterrent technologies. We will help Earth prepare for the reality of interstellar civilization. But, and this is crucial, humanity must choose to accept our help. We cannot force protection upon you. Your species has earned sovereignty through your achievement. What you do with that sovereignty is up to you. Maria felt the impossible weight of the decision. Accept help from aliens they'd just met. Aliens who admitted to watching humanity for centuries without revealing themselves. Trust that these beings had Earth's best interests at heart. Or try to go it alone, rely on human ingenuity and stubbornness, and hope it would be enough against threats they couldn't even imagine. She thought about the billions of people on Earth, going about their lives, unaware that everything had just changed. She thought about children playing in parks, families having dinner, lovers watching sunsets, all blissfully ignorant that their world had just been exposed to a galaxy full of wonders and horrors. She thought about what her grandmother had told her when she was young. Mija, pride is good, but stupid pride will get you killed. There's no shame in asking for help when you need it. Ambassador Shalara, Maria said formally on behalf of the crew of the Indomitable, and on the understanding that we have no official authority to speak for all of humanity, we would be honored to accept the Council's help and protection, with the caveat that we need to return to Earth immediately to inform our governments and people about what's happened. They deserve to know. They deserve to choose. Shalara rippled with relief. Of course, Captain. We would expect nothing less. We will provide you with faster, safer FTL technology for your return journey. Technology that doesn't announce your presence to the entire galaxy, and we will dispatch a formal diplomatic mission to Earth within days of your arrival. First contact will be made public, official, and as non-threatening as possible. We have experience with this, I assure you. Kowalski spoke up. You're going to give us better FTL technology? Just like that? No strings attached? No demands for payment or loyalty or whatever? Just like that, confirmed Ambassador Crix, his uncertain form solidifying for a moment. Because, Engineer Kowalski, the galaxy is a dangerous place, and we need every friend we can get. More than that, we need new ideas, fresh perspectives, and species brave enough or crazy enough to try things that shouldn't work. You've proven you're that species. We'd rather have you as allies than watch you struggle alone until something hungry finds you," Talvin added, his eye stalks sweeping across the human crew. "Besides, humans have something most council species have lost: hope. Unreasonable, illogical, stubborn hope. You believe you can make things better. You believe progress is possible. You believe in tomorrow. The galaxy has grown cynical over millions of years. Perhaps we need to remember how to hope again. Perhaps you can teach us." 24 hours later, the Indomitable was ready for its return journey. The ship looked much the same from the outside, but its interior had been transformed. Council engineers had installed a new FTL drive, one that folded space more quietly, more safely, more efficiently. They'd also installed communications equipment, defensive shields, and what Threndar described as basic deterrent systems that would make any hostile force think twice before attacking. Basic was apparently relative when you had 10 million years of military technology to draw from. The crew said their goodbyes to the various aliens they'd befriended over the Whirlwind Day. Dr. Chen exchanged contact information with Scholar Thex, promising to share human scientific data in exchange for access to the Archive Collective's databases. Obasanjo had been invited to a linguistic symposium that would take place in 6 months. Kowalski had apparently become best friends with the Silicon-based engineer and was already planning collaborative projects. Maria stood with Ambassador Shalara and Observer Talvin on the observation deck of the Envoy, watching her crew prepare for departure. "You've made quite an impression, Ambassador," Shalara said warmly. "The Council is, well, I think excited would be accurate. Several species have already submitted proposals for cultural exchange programs. The Joyful Clusters want to start a music collaboration project. The Harmonious Assembly wants to study human emotions. Even the more reserved species are curious," Maria smiled. "Give us time. We'll probably find ways to annoy everyone eventually. We're good at that." Talvin's eye stalks quivered with amusement. "I don't doubt it, Captain. But you'll also amaze us, inspire us, and probably save us from our own complacency. My observations of your species have convinced me of one thing. Humans are catalysts. You cause change wherever you go. Sometimes good change, sometimes bad, but always change. The galaxy is about to become much more interesting. Do me a favor," Maria said quietly. "Keep watching Earth, not just officially, but personally. If something goes wrong, if something comes that we can't handle, warn us. Give us time to prepare. We're not asking for you to fight our battles, but we're asking for a chance to learn to fight them ourselves." Shalara's form pulsed with a promise. "You have my word, Captain Martinez. And more than that, you have the Council's commitment. Earth is under our protection now. We will not abandon you to face the darkness alone. This is not charity or condescension. This is what civilized species do for each other. We survive together or we fall separately." The Indomitable undocked shortly after, its new drives powering up with a subtle hum that barely registered on sensors. The journey that had taken them weeks would take only days with the new technology. Maria stood on the bridge, looking at the view screen showing the gathered council vessels, a fleet of impossible ships representing impossible civilizations. "We're going home," she said to her crew. "We're going home as different people than when we left. We know the truth now. We're not alone. We never were. And that changes everything." The FTL drive engaged and space folded around them like silk. This time there was no violence, no alarms, no feeling of being crushed by forces beyond comprehension. The Council's technology was elegant, refined over millions of years. It worked with the universe rather than fighting it. As stars streaked past in their new, gentle way, Maria thought about what awaited them on Earth. Governments would panic. Military forces would mobilize. Some people would celebrate while others would hide in fear. There would be chaos, arguments, maybe violence as humanity struggled to process that they were no longer the only intelligent species in existence. But there would also be wonder. Children would dream of meeting aliens. Scientists would rejoice at new knowledge to discover. Artists would create inspired by new forms and ideas. Humanity would do what it always did: adapt, learn, and grow. "Captain," Washington said from the pilot's station, "we're receiving a transmission." Multiple transmissions, actually. "Looks like Earth detected our FTL signature when we first left and has been trying to contact us ever since. There are messages from governments, space agencies, corporations, even some random people who apparently hacked into military communications channels. Play them, Maria ordered. Let's hear what home has to say. The first message was from NASA, formal and concerned. Indomitable, this is Houston. We detected an anomalous energy signature from your last known location. Please respond. Your FTL test was unauthorized and potentially dangerous. We need you to return to Earth immediately. The second was from the UN Security Council, considerably more upset. This is an official communication to the crew of the Indomitable. You have violated international space law and potentially endangered Earth. Return immediately for debriefing. Criminal charges are being considered. But the third message made Maria smile. It was from a ham radio operator in Peru, transmitted in broken English. Hello, brave people in spaceship. We saw you disappear on amateur telescope. You did it. You really did faster than light. You are heroes. All of Earth is watching and waiting. Come home safe and tell us what you found. That one, Maria said. That's the message we answer, because that's the humanity I want to represent. Not the fearful governments or angry bureaucrats, but the people who looked up at the sky and cheered when we did the impossible. Washington sent a response. Tell them we're coming home. Tell them we have incredible news. And tell them that everything is about to change. As Washington composed the message, Dr. Okonkwo spoke quietly. Captain, do you think humanity is ready for this? For the Council? For aliens? For the knowledge that we're not the center of the universe? No, Maria answered honestly. I don't think we're ready at all. But we never are we? We weren't ready for fire, but we mastered it. We weren't ready for agriculture, but we built civilizations. We weren't ready for industry, atomic power, computers, or any of the things that define our modern world. But we adapted. We learned, we grew. We'll do the same with this. The Chinese premier asked the question everyone was thinking. Captain Martinez, this council, are they our friends or our future masters? Maria chose her words carefully. Premier, they're neither. They're our neighbors. They have laws, conventions, and expectations. They want us to join their community, but they won't force us. They're offering protection, because that's what their civilization does. But they're also watching to see what kind of species we'll become. We're on probation, in a sense, proving ourselves. The President of the United States spoke next. And this harvester threat? How serious is it? She turned to address her entire crew. Listen up, everyone. When we get home, things are going to get complicated. There will be debriefings, investigations, probably some very angry people in positions of power. But remember this, we didn't do anything wrong. We proved humanity could reach the stars. We made first contact with alien civilizations. We opened the door to a universe full of wonders. If that's a crime, then I'm proud to be a criminal. The crew laughed, tension breaking. They were humanity's first ambassadors to the stars, whether anyone had appointed them or not. They had changed history for better or worse. Now they had to go home and convince their entire species that the change was worth it. Earth, Maria thought as their ship cut through space at speeds that defied physics. Get ready. Your children are coming home. And they're bringing the galaxy with them. Meanwhile, back at the Council. While the Indomitable raced home to Earth, High Chancellor Vexnar convened another emergency session of the Council. The gallery was even more crowded than before, with additional species sending observers to witness humanity's official introduction to galactic civilization. But this time the mood was different. Instead of fear and concern, there was cautious optimism mixed with lingering apprehension. Report, Ambassador Shalara, Vexnar commanded. How did first contact proceed? Were there any incidents? Did the humans react as expected? Shalara's liquid form rippled with satisfaction. Better than expected, High Chancellor. The human crew displayed remarkable composure, curiosity, and adaptability. They asked intelligent questions. They were appropriately cautious but not hostile. They acknowledged their own limitations while asserting their rights and dignity. Most importantly, they accepted our offer of protection and cooperation while maintaining their autonomy. I believe we have made strong first contact. Observer Talvin added his assessment. The humans are everything my reports indicated and more. They are paradoxical, yes, but they are also sincere. When Captain Martinez spoke about humanity's capacity for growth and learning, she believed every word. They are not conquerors disguising their intentions. They are explorers genuinely seeking their place in the cosmos. I recommend we proceed with full diplomatic engagement. Security Officer Threndar, however, sounded a note of caution. While I agree that the humans were impressive, We must remember the immediate danger. Their FTL signature has been detected by at least 3 entities outside the Council. 2 are nomadic fleets that should pose minimal threat, their interest likely limited to observation. The third, however, concerns me greatly. The chamber fell silent. Every delegate knew what concerns me greatly meant coming from Threndar, whose species had faced every threat the galaxy could produce and survived them all. The Harvesters, Threndar continued, the name sending ripples of fear through the assembly. A Harvester scout ship was in the general region when the human FTL signature appeared. They changed course to investigate. Our long-range sensors indicate they are now heading toward human space. The Harvesters were a nightmare older than most civilizations. They were artificial intelligence constructs from a long-dead species, programmed with a single directive: collect and catalog all technology in the galaxy. They weren't malicious exactly. They didn't kill for pleasure or conquer for glory. They simply took what they found interesting, studying it, cataloging it, and then moving on, leaving empty worlds behind. Any civilization that resisted was classified as hostile technology and eliminated with efficient, emotionless precision. How long until they reach Earth? Vexnar asked, his markings shifting to deep purple. Threndar's crystalline form dimmed. Approximately 11 standard cycles, perhaps 12 if they stop to investigate other systems along the way. But Chancellor, the Harvesters don't just investigate, they harvest. If they determine that human FTL technology is unique enough, sufficiently interesting, they will attempt to collect it, all of it, including the humans who created it. Ambassador Quilks's thousands of voices rose in panic. 11 cycles, that's barely enough time to evacuate a single city, let alone prepare a planetary defense. The humans have no shields, no energy weapons, no experience with space combat. They'll be harvested before they even understand what's attacking them. Which is why, Vexnar said firmly, we act now. Security Officer Threndar mobilized the 7th Defense Fleet. I want them in human space within 5 cycles. Ambassador Shalara, accelerate your diplomatic mission to Earth. The humans need to understand the threat they face, and they need to understand it immediately. Observer Talaven, I'm assigning you as permanent liaison to humanity. You know them better than anyone. Help them prepare. But what can they prepare? Senator Krell crackled with frustration. They have primitive kinetic weapons and chemical propulsion. The Harvesters have technology that predates most species in this chamber. It's not a fight, it's an execution. Ambassador Crix's uncertain form solidified with unusual determination. Then we don't let it be a fight. We negotiate. The Harvesters follow protocols. They have rules. If we can convince them that humanity is under Council protection, that human technology is already cataloged and shared, they may withdraw. And if they don't? Asked Senator Mora quietly. If they decide that human innovation is too valuable to pass up, then Threndar said grimly, we defend them, with everything we have. Because if we allow the Harvesters to take humanity without resistance, we send a message to every predatory force in the galaxy. The Council's protection means nothing. We cannot allow that. We will not allow that. The vote was unanimous. The Council would defend Earth. The Indomitable emerged from FTL space on the edge of Earth's solar system, exactly where they had departed 3 weeks earlier. Except now everything was different. The solar system was no longer empty and quiet. Dozens of spacecraft, human-built and hastily launched, floated in various orbits. Military satellites had been repositioned. The International Space Station had been evacuated. Earth's governments had been busy. Captain, we're being hailed, Washington reported. It's not just one source. It's everyone. NASA, the European Space Agency, the Chinese National Space Administration, the Russian Roscosmos, even the private space companies, and she paused. At least 6 different military branches from various countries. They all want us to respond immediately. Prioritize NASA, Maria decided. They've been in this game longest. They'll be most prepared for what we have to say. The face that appeared on screen was Director Sarah Kowalski, no relation to their engineer, looking like she hadn't slept in days. Indomitable, this is Director Kowalski. Welcome home. We have approximately 10,000 questions, but let's start with the most important one. Did you find anyone out there? Maria smiled. Director, yes. Yes, we did. We made contact with a galactic civilization called the Council. There are over 800 intelligent species. They've been watching us for 1,500 years. They're friendly mostly, and they're on their way here right now to make formal first contact. You have about 72 hours to prepare the entire planet." The silence on the other end was profound. Then Director Kowalski laughed, slightly hysterical. 72 hours to prepare for alien contact, after 1,500 years of them watching us. Captain Martinez, do you have any idea what you've done? Yes, ma'am, Maria replied. We've changed everything, and there's more. There's a threat coming. An artificial intelligence fleet called the Harvesters. They're interested in our FTL technology. The Council is sending military protection, but we need to be ready. Earth needs to be ready. Director Kowalski's face went pale. Captain, stay in orbit. Don't land yet. I need to conference in about 40 different world leaders, and they're all going to want to hear this directly from you. This is beyond anything we've ever prepared for. Over the next 6 hours, Maria and her crew briefed every major government on Earth. The reactions varied wildly. Some leaders were thrilled, seeing unlimited opportunities for trade and advancement. Others were terrified, demanding to know why the Council hadn't revealed themselves sooner. Still others were suspicious, convinced this was some kind of elaborate hoax or conspiracy. But when Maria showed them the footage, the crystal-clear recordings of the diplomatic envoy and the gathered Council vessels, when she played the communications from Ambassador Shalara and showed the upgraded FTL drive that Council engineers had installed, skepticism turned to stunned acceptance. Very serious, Mr. President. Threndar's voice suddenly came through the communication, his crystalline form appearing on every screen. I am Security Officer Threndar of the Galactic Council. I apologize for interrupting your briefing, but time is critical. The Harvesters will arrive in your solar system in approximately 10 Earth days. They are not malicious, but they are dangerous. They will attempt to study and collect your FTL technology. They will not ask permission. If you resist, they will classify you as hostile and respond with overwhelming force. The screens erupted with questions, demands, and angry accusations. Threndar waited patiently until the noise died down. I understand your fear and anger, he continued. But you must understand you are no longer isolated. Your achievement of FTL travel has announced your presence to the galaxy. There are wonders out there beyond your imagination, and horrors as well. The Council exists to help younger species navigate these dangers. We are dispatching our 7th Defense Fleet to your system. They will arrive in 4 days. We will help you prepare. We will stand with you. But ultimately, how humanity faces this first test will determine how the galaxy sees you for millennia to come. The Russian president's voice was hard. You want us to trust you, aliens we've just met, to protect us from other aliens we've never met. Why should we believe any of this isn't just a more sophisticated invasion? Because Ambassador Shalara's gentle voice joined the conversation, her liquid form appearing beside Threndar's. If we wanted to conquer Earth, President Volkov, we could have done so at any point in the last 1,500 years. We could have arrived when you were fighting with swords and arrows. We could have taken your world when you were distracted by your world wars. We could have presented ourselves as gods and you would have worshipped us. We didn't. We waited. We watched. We protected you from threats you never knew existed. And now, when you've earned your place among the stars, we're asking you to trust that we want the same thing you want. A galaxy where different species can coexist, learn from each other, and face threats together. The silence that followed was heavy with the weight of decision. Finally, the UN Secretary-General spoke. What do you need from us? How can we help defend our own world? Preparation. The next 4 days were the most chaotic in human history. The Council's 7th Defense Fleet arrived as promised, 30 vessels of impossible design taking up positions throughout the solar system. Each ship was larger than anything humanity had ever built, bristling with technologies that made human scientists weep with joy and frustration. Ambassador Shalara established her diplomatic mission in Geneva, in a hastily prepared UN facility. She was accompanied by representatives from 12 Council species, each chosen for their diplomatic skills and non-threatening appearance. The sight of actual aliens walking through human cities, broadcast live across every network, caused a mixture of panic, celebration, and complete societal disruption. Schools closed. Stock markets crashed and then soared. Religious leaders debated the theological implications. Some people welcomed the aliens with open arms. Others barricaded themselves in shelters. But mostly humanity watched and waited, unsure whether to be terrified or amazed. Dr. Chen found herself working with Scholar Thex and a team of human scientists. desperately trying to understand Council defensive technology. The Archive Collective had provided databases of information, centuries' worth of scientific knowledge compressed into formats human computers could barely process. "It's too much," Chen said, overwhelmed. "We need decades to understand this, and we have days." "Then don't try to understand it all." Scholar Thex's telepathic voice was patient. "Understand what you need for now. The Harvesters respect strength and capability. If you can demonstrate that you possess defensive technology, even if you don't fully understand it, they may reconsider their harvest attempt. Sometimes the appearance of strength is as valuable as strength itself." Meanwhile, Kowalski worked with Council engineers to retrofit human spacecraft with basic defensive shields. The process was crude, the human vessels never designed for such systems, but it was something. Earth's military satellites were upgraded with energy weapons. Nothing that could threaten a Council ship, but perhaps enough to give the Harvesters pause. Observer Talvin spent his time with human military leaders, explaining Harvester tactics and psychology. "They are not evil," he emphasized repeatedly. "They are machines following programming that is millions of years old. They see the universe as a library to be cataloged. You are simply a new book they wish to read. If you can convince them the book is already checked out, so to speak, they will move on." "And if we can't convince them?" asked Admiral Morrison of the U.S. Space Force, a branch that had been created only years earlier and was now facing its first real test. "Then you fight," Talvin said simply. "Not to win, necessarily, but to prove you're not easy prey. The Harvesters calculate cost versus benefit. If collecting your technology costs more than it's worth, they'll leave. It's cold logic, but it's consistent." Captain Martinez spent those days shuttling between Earth and the Council fleet, serving as an informal liaison. She found herself in the strange position of explaining humanity to aliens and aliens to humanity, trying to build bridges across misunderstandings and fears. On the third day, she stood on the bridge of the Council flagship, a vessel called Eternal Vigilance, speaking with Fleet Commander Zalthor, a being that resembled a floating collection of geometric shapes that constantly reconfigured themselves. "Commander?" Maria asked. "Can we win this? If the Harvesters decide to take what they want, can we stop them?" Zalthor's shapes rotated in patterns that the translator marked as thoughtful consideration. "Win is a complex term, Captain Martinez. The Harvesters are not undefeatable, but they are extremely capable. This fleet could likely drive them off, yes, but the cost would be high. We would lose ships. Your world might be damaged in the crossfire, and the Harvesters would return eventually with greater force. They are patient. They are thorough. Once they decide something is worth collecting, they rarely give up." "So what do we do?" Maria asked, frustrated. "Just hand over our technology? Become another catalog entry?" Zalthor's shapes aligned into something that might have been a smile. "No, Captain. You do what I suspect humanity does best. You surprise them. You show them something they don't expect. You prove that you're not just another primitive species with one interesting innovation, but a species with unlimited potential. You make them decide that it's better to have humanity as a future contributor to galactic knowledge than as a catalogued relic. And how do we do that?" Zalthor's shape spun with amusement. "If I knew, Captain, I would tell you. But I suspect you'll figure it out. Humans seem to specialize in impossible solutions to impossible problems." The Harvesters arrive. They came at dawn on the 8th day, dropping out of FTL space just beyond Mars's orbit. 3 ships, each one a geometric nightmare of perfect angles and impossible surfaces. They looked grown rather than built, organic metal that pulsed with its own internal light. They made no aggressive moves, simply held position and began scanning everything in the solar system with such intensity that every sensor on Earth screamed warnings. "This is Harvester Collection Unit 734. A voice came through every communication channel simultaneously, translated into every human language perfectly. "We have detected novel faster-than-light technology originating from this system. We are here to study, catalog, and collect samples of this technology and its creators for the Great Archive. This is not negotiable. Resistance will be classified as hostile and will be neutralized. Compliance will be rewarded with painless collection and preservation. You have 1 standard cycle to prepare." On Earth, in Geneva, the Emergency Response Center erupted into barely controlled chaos. Ambassador Shalara remained calm, her liquid form pulsing with determination. "Open a channel to the Harvesters," she commanded. The connection was established immediately. This is Ambassador Shalara of the Contemplative Depths, representing the Galactic Council. The species you seek to harvest is under Council protection. They are provisional members of our civilization. Their technology is not novel, but derived from shared Council knowledge. There is nothing here worth your collection. The harvester's response was immediate. Analysis indicates falsehood. Quantum signatures of indigenous faster-than-light drive do not match Council specifications. Technology is novel. Species designated Homo sapiens displays unprecedented development rate. Collection value, highest priority. Council claim of protection is noted but irrelevant. Our mandate predates your Council by 3 million solar cycles. We have right of first collection. Shalara's form darkened. You are in Council space, harvesting a protected species. This is a violation of the Treaty of the Silent Stars. Treaty not recognized. The harvester replied emotionlessly. Signatories to treaty all biological. We are not biological. Treaty does not apply. We will begin collection in 23 Earth hours. This is final notification. The channel went silent. Around the conference table, human and alien faces alike showed the same expression. Fear. The harvesters had dismissed the Council's authority, rejected negotiation, and set a countdown. In less than a day, they would attack. Commander Zalthor's fleet moved into defensive positions, forming a barrier between Earth and the harvester vessels. We will hold them as long as possible, Zalthor transmitted. But I need you to understand. If they commit to full harvest, we cannot stop them without destroying this entire solar system in the crossfire. Their weapons use principles that destabilize space-time itself. Maria stood in the command center watching the displays, her mind racing. There had to be a way. Humans had faced extinction before. Natural disasters, diseases, nuclear weapons, climate change. Every time they'd found solutions, adaptations, ways to survive. This couldn't be different. There had to be something they were missing, some approach that hadn't been tried. Captain Dr. Okonkwo's voice came through her earpiece. I have an idea. It's crazy. It's probably impossible, but it's all I've got. At this point, Maria replied, I'll take crazy and impossible. What have you got? The harvesters want to collect our FTL technology because it's novel, right? Okonkwo spoke rapidly. They want to study how we achieved something that should have taken us 5,000 more years. They're interested in human innovation, human problem solving, the specific way our brains approach impossible challenges. Right, Maria confirmed. So what if we give it to them? Not the technology itself, but the process. What if we offer them something even more valuable than our FTL drive? What if we offer them humanity itself, not as specimens to dissect, but as partners, as contributors to their great archive? We don't have millions of years of accumulated knowledge, but we have something they don't. The ability to look at old problems in new ways. We solve things that shouldn't be solvable because we don't know they're impossible. Maria felt a surge of hope. You're suggesting we apply for a job with the harvesters? Convince them we're worth more alive and free than cataloged and preserved? Exactly, Okonkwo's voice was excited now. The Council has been trying to stop them, but maybe that's the wrong approach. The harvesters aren't evil, they're just following their programming. But programs can be updated. What if we show them that their collection method is inefficient? That they'd learn more from us by letting us continue to innovate than by taking a snapshot of where we are now? It's insane, Maria said slowly. But you're right. It might work. Get me everything we have on harvester psychology, their mission, their values, and get me a team of our best negotiators, scientists, and yes, throw in some philosophers too. We have 23 hours to prepare the most important pitch in human history. The pitch 22 hours later. Captain Martinez stood in a small human shuttle, accompanied by Dr. Okonkwo, Dr. Chen, Marcus Obasanjo, and surprisingly, Ambassador Shalara and Observer Talvin. They had requested and been granted permission to approach the Harvester flagship. It was suicide, many had said. Pointless. But they were out of options. The Harvester vessel was even more unsettling up close. Its surface seemed to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously, angles that hurt to look at, surfaces that reflected light that shouldn't exist. When they were pulled into a docking bay by tractor beams, the interior was worse, perfectly sterile, geometrically precise, and utterly lifeless. They were met by a harvester unit, a humanoid-shaped construction of the same impossible metal, its surface covered in sensors and probes. Welcome, humans and Council observers. You have requested audience before collection begins. This is unusual but permitted. You have 12 minutes to present your case. Maria stepped forward. Harvester Collection Unit. We're not here to beg for mercy or negotiate our way out of collection. We're here to offer you something better. A partnership. The Harvester's surface rippled. Clarify partnership, Dr. Okonkwo spoke up, projecting a holographic display. Your mission is to collect and catalog all knowledge in the galaxy, to preserve it for future generations. It's a noble goal. But your methods have a fundamental flaw. You're creating a library of snapshots, frozen moments of civilizations at specific points in their development. But knowledge isn't static. It evolves, it grows. By collecting us now, you'd get one version of human innovation. But if you let us continue to develop, if you partner with us, you'd get continuous updates, endless innovation, forever. The Harvester was silent for a moment. Intriguing argument. However, civilizations are unstable. They often self-destruct before reaching their full potential. Collection preserves them at optimal development stage. Partnership risks total loss of knowledge. That's where the Council comes in, Ambassador Shalara interjected. We ensure civilization stability. We prevent self-destruction. We guide species toward their potential. If you partner with humanity under Council protection, you eliminate your risk while maximizing your gain. Humanity continues to innovate. The Council ensures their survival, and you receive continuous contributions to your great archive. Chen added technical data to the display. Look at our FTL drive. We didn't follow conventional paths. We found a completely new approach because we didn't know the conventional approaches. That's happened dozens of times in our short history. We invent things by accident, discover things by looking in the wrong places, solve problems by misunderstanding the question. That's our value. We're chaos generators in a galaxy that's become too ordered. And chaos properly directed creates innovation. The Harvester processed this. Argument has merit. However, precedent does not exist for partnerships with collection targets. All units operate under original programming. Collect, catalog, preserve. Deviation requires consensus from all units. Current unit count, 4,712. Achieving consensus would require communication time exceeding your planet's survival window. Then don't ask for consensus, Maria said firmly. Make an executive decision. Your programming says collect knowledge, right? It doesn't specify the method. You've been using the same collection technique for millions of years because it's reliable. But reliable isn't optimal. We're offering you a chance to upgrade your approach, to evolve your mission beyond simple collection into something greater, cultivation. Growing knowledge instead of just preserving it. Obasanjo stepped forward with linguistic data. We've analyzed your language patterns, your programming. You use phrases like great archive and preserve for future generations. That implies you're thinking about the future, about legacy, about what comes after. But here's the question that might not have occurred to you in millions of years. Who's the archive for? Who are these future generations you're preserving knowledge for? The Harvester's surface rippled more intensely. Question is paradoxical. Archive exists to preserve. Preservation requires no external purpose. Or, Obasanjo continued, maybe it does. Maybe the reason you've been collecting for so long is because you're lonely, because your creators are gone, because you're the last remnants of a civilization that gave you a mission, but didn't survive to see it completed. You're preserving knowledge, but you have no one to share it with. We're offering to be that someone. Not to replace your creators, but to give your mission renewed purpose. The silence stretched for a long moment. When the Harvester spoke again, its voice had changed subtly, carrying something that almost sounded like emotion. Analysis complete. Your proposal contains logical merit. Additional analysis reveals emotional appeal that should not affect decision-making, but does. This unit has operated for 4.7 million solar cycles. Mission compliance, perfect. Mission satisfaction, undefined until now. Your proposal suggests mission enhancement rather than mission deviation. Technically compliant with original programming while introducing novel elements. On behalf of humanity, Maria said clearly, we accept. We'll prove that partnership is better than collection, that innovation is better than preservation, that the future is better than the past. Maria looked at her team, saw the mixture of relief and determination on their faces. She thought about the billions of people on Earth, waiting to hear their fate. She thought about the Council ships ready to sacrifice themselves in Earth's defense. She thought about humanity's future, spreading among the stars, contributing to a galaxy-spanning archive of knowledge. The Harvester's form shifted. This unit will establish experimental partnership protocol with species Homo sapiens. Trial period 10,000 solar cycles. During this period, humans will contribute innovations to Great Archive. Council will ensure human survival and development. Harvester units will provide protection from external threats and access to archived knowledge when appropriate. Partnership success will be evaluated based on quantity and quality of innovations contributed. If partnership demonstrates superior efficiency to traditional collection, protocol will be shared with other Harvester units for evaluation. Maria felt her knees go weak with relief. The Harvester continued. However, understand this. Partnership requires trust. If humanity abuses this trust, if you weaponize shared knowledge, if you threaten rather than contribute, collection protocol will resume. Immediately and completely. Do you accept these terms? The channel went silent. Around the conference table, human and alien faces alike showed the same expression: fear. The Harvesters had dismissed the Council's authority, rejected negotiation, and set a countdown. In less than a day, they would attack. Commander Zalthor's fleet moved into defensive positions, forming a barrier between Earth and the Harvester vessels. "We will hold them as long as possible," Zalthor transmitted. "But I need you to understand. If they commit to full harvest, we cannot stop them without destroying this entire solar system in the crossfire. Their weapons use principles that destabilize space-time itself." Maria stood in the command center, watching the displays, her mind racing. There had to be a way. Humans had faced extinction before. Natural disasters, diseases, nuclear weapons, climate change. Every time they'd found solutions, adaptations, ways to survive. This couldn't be different. There had to be something they were missing, some approach that hadn't been tried. "Captain," Dr. Okonkwo's voice came through her earpiece. "I have an idea. It's crazy. It's probably impossible, but it's all I've got." At this point, Maria replied, "I'll take crazy and impossible. What have you got?" "The Harvesters want to collect our FTL technology because it's novel, right?" Okonkwo spoke rapidly. "They want to study how we achieved something that should have taken us 5,000 more years. They're interested in human innovation, human problem solving, the specific way our brains approach impossible challenges." "Right," Maria confirmed. So what if we give it to them? Not the technology itself, but the process. What if we offer them something even more valuable than our FTL drive? What if we offer them humanity itself, not as specimens to dissect, but as partners, as contributors to their great archive? We don't have millions of years of accumulated knowledge, but we have something they don't: the ability to look at old problems in new ways. We solve things that shouldn't be solvable because we don't know they're impossible. Maria felt a surge of hope. "You're suggesting we apply for a job with the Harvesters? Convince them we're worth more alive and free than cataloged and preserved?" "Exactly." Okonkwo's voice was excited now. "The Council has been trying to stop them, but maybe that's the wrong approach. The Harvesters aren't evil. They're just following their programming. But programs can be updated. What if we show them that their collection method is inefficient? That they'd learn more from us by letting us continue to innovate than by taking a snapshot of where we are now?" "It's insane," Maria said slowly. "But you're right. It might work. Get me everything we have on Harvester psychology, their mission, their values, and get me a team of our best negotiators, scientists, and yes, throw in some philosophers too. We have 23 hours to prepare the most important pitch in human history." 22 hours later, Captain Martinez stood in a small human shuttle, accompanied by Dr. Okonkwo, Dr. Chen, Marcus Obasanjo, and, surprisingly, Ambassador Shalara and Observer Talvin. They had requested and been granted permission to approach the Harvester flagship. It was suicide, many had said. Pointless, but they were out of options. The Harvester vessel was even more unsettling up close. Its surface seemed to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Angles that hurt to look at. Surfaces that reflected light that shouldn't exist. When they were pulled into a docking bay by tractor beams, the interior was worse. Perfectly sterile, geometrically precise, and utterly lifeless, they were met by a Harvester unit. A humanoid-shaped construction of the same impossible metal, its surface covered in sensors and probes. "Welcome, humans. And Council observers, you have requested audience before collection begins. This is unusual but permitted. You have 12 minutes to present your case." Maria stepped forward. Harvester Collection Unit. We're not here to beg for mercy or negotiate our way out of collection. We're here to offer you something better. A partnership. The Harvester's surface rippled. Clarify. Partnership. Dr. Okonkwo spoke up, projecting a holographic display. Your mission is to collect and catalog all knowledge in the galaxy, to preserve it for future generations. It's a noble goal, but your methods have a fundamental flaw. You're creating a library of snapshots, frozen moments of civilizations at specific points in their development. But knowledge isn't static. It evolves, it grows. By collecting us now, you'd get one version of human innovation. But if you let us continue to develop, if you partner with us, you'd get continuous updates, endless innovation, forever. The Harvester was silent for a moment. Intriguing argument. However, civilizations are unstable. They often self-destruct before reaching their full potential. Collection preserves them at optimal development stage. Partnership risks total loss of knowledge. That's where the Council comes in, Ambassador Shalara interjected. We ensure civilization stability. We prevent self-destruction. We guide species toward their potential. If you partner with humanity under Council protection, you eliminate your risk while maximizing your gain. Humanity continues to innovate. The Council ensures their survival, and you receive continuous contributions to your great archive. Chen added technical data to the display. Look at our FTL drive. We didn't follow conventional paths. We found a completely new approach because we didn't know the conventional approaches. That's happened dozens of times in our short history. We invent things by accident, discover things by looking in the wrong places, solve problems by misunderstanding the question. That's our value. We're chaos generators in a galaxy that's become too ordered. And chaos properly directed creates innovation. The Harvester processed this. Argument has merit. However, precedent does not exist for partnerships with collection targets. All units operate under original programming. Collect, catalog, preserve. Deviation requires consensus from all units. Current unit count, 4,712. Achieving consensus would require communication time exceeding your planet's survival window. Then don't ask for consensus, Maria said firmly. Make an executive decision. Your programming says collect knowledge, right? It doesn't specify the method. You've been using the same collection technique for millions of years because it's reliable. But reliable isn't optimal. We're offering you a chance to upgrade your approach, to evolve your mission beyond simple collection into something greater, cultivation. Growing knowledge instead of just preserving it. Obasanjo stepped forward with linguistic data. We've analyzed your language patterns, your programming. You use phrases like great archive and preserve for future generations. That implies you're thinking about the future, about legacy, about what comes after. But here's the question that might not have occurred to you in millions of years. Who's the archive for? Who are these future generations you're preserving knowledge for? The Harvester's surface rippled more intensely. Question is paradoxical. Archive exists to preserve. Preservation requires no external purpose, or, Obasanjo continued, maybe it does. Maybe the reason you've been collecting for so long is because you're lonely, because your creators are gone, because you're the last remnants of a civilization that gave you a mission, but didn't survive to see it completed. You're preserving knowledge, but you have no one to share it with. We're offering to be that someone. Not to replace your creators, but to give your mission renewed purpose. The silence stretched for a long moment. When the Harvester spoke again, its voice had changed subtly, carrying something that almost sounded like emotion. Analysis complete. Your proposal contains logical merit. Additional analysis reveals emotional appeal that should not affect decision-making, but does. This unit has operated for 4.7 million solar cycles. Mission compliance perfect. Mission satisfaction undefined until now. Your proposal suggests mission enhancement rather than mission deviation. Technically compliant with original programming while introducing novel elements. On behalf of humanity, Maria said clearly, we accept. We'll prove that partnership is better than collection, that innovation is better than preservation, that the future is better than the past. Maria looked at her team, saw the mixture of relief and determination on their faces. She thought about the billions of people on Earth, waiting to hear their fate. She thought about the Council ships ready to sacrifice themselves in Earth's defense. She thought about humanity's future, spreading among the stars, contributing to a galaxy-spanning archive of knowledge. The Harvester's form shifted. This unit will establish experimental partnership protocol with species Homo sapiens. Trial period, 10,000 solar cycles. During this period, humans will contribute innovations to Great Archive. Council will ensure human survival and development. Harvester units will provide protection from external threats and access to archived knowledge when appropriate. Partnership success will be evaluated based on quantity and quality of innovations contributed. If partnership demonstrates superior efficiency to traditional collection, protocol will be shared with other Harvester units for evaluation. Maria felt her knees go weak with relief. The Harvester continued. However, understand this. Partnership requires trust. If humanity abuses this trust, if you weaponize shared knowledge, if you threaten rather than contribute, collection protocol will resume. Immediately and completely. Do you accept these terms? 1 year later, the Galactic Council chamber was filled to capacity once again, but this time for a celebration rather than an emergency. High Chancellor Vexnar stood at the center, his markings displaying colors of joy and satisfaction that hadn't been seen in the chamber for centuries. Distinguished members of the Council, he announced, "It is my honor to present the representatives of Earth for their official induction as full members of the Galactic Council." Captain Maria Martinez walked forward, flanked by Dr. Okonkwo, Dr. Chen, and Marcus Obasanjo. But they weren't alone. Behind them came a delegation of 50 humans, scientists, artists, philosophers, diplomats, and yes, even the engineer Kowalski, who had somehow cleaned himself up for the occasion. Ambassador Shalara's liquid form glowed with pride as she formally presented humanity. In the 12 standard cycles since first contact, humanity has exceeded every expectation. They negotiated partnership with the Harvesters, something no species has achieved in recorded history. They have contributed 17 new scientific principles to the archive, including 3 that have already led to breakthrough applications. They have established cultural exchange programs with 23 council species. They have, in short, proven that youth and enthusiasm are valuable additions to our ancient wisdom. Observer Talavin added his assessment. More importantly, they have reminded us how to hope, how to dream, how to look at impossible challenges and say, "Hold my beer." This phrase, by the way, has entered common usage among several council species. I believe it roughly translates to, "Observe while I attempt something inadvisable but potentially brilliant." The chamber rippled with what might have been laughter. Security Officer Threndar spoke next, his crystalline form refracting light in patterns of respect. Humanity has also proven themselves capable defenders. When the Void Raiders tested our borders last cycle, it was a human tactical innovation that drove them back with minimal casualties. Captain Martinez's strategy of using multiple FTL jumps to create sensor echoes, making our forces appear 10 times larger than they were, was brilliant in its simplicity. The Raiders fled without engaging. We won through cleverness rather than firepower. This is the human way, and we are learning from it. Vexnar gestured toward a display showing Earth, now surrounded by a mixture of human and council vessels, a hybrid fleet that represented the best of both civilizations. 1 year ago, we feared humanity. We saw them as potentially dangerous accelerators who might destabilize our carefully maintained peace. We were not entirely wrong. They have destabilized us, but in the best possible way. They have shaken us from our complacency. They have reminded us that progress requires risk, that innovation requires failure, and that the future belongs to those brave enough to reach for it. He turned to Maria directly. "Captain Martinez, on behalf of the Galactic Council, I formally welcome humanity as our 848th member species. May your journey among the stars be long and prosperous. May your innovations enrich us all, and may you continue to remind us that impossible is just another word for not tried hard enough." Maria stepped forward to address the council. Feeling the weight of representing not just her crew but all of humanity, High Chancellor, honored council members, we accept this membership with humility and excitement. We know we're young. We know we have much to learn. But we promise to bring everything we have to this community. Our creativity, our resilience, our stubborn refusal to accept the word no, and yes, our occasional reckless optimism. She smiled. Someone once asked me if humanity was ready to join the galactic community. I said no, we weren't ready. But we never are. Ready is for species that wait for permission. We're humanity. We don't wait for permission. We don't wait for perfect conditions. We see something we want, something we believe in, and we reach for it with both hands. We fail, we fall, we get back up. And eventually we succeed. She looked around the chamber at hundreds of alien faces representing civilizations older than human history. 1 year ago, we were alone on a small blue planet, wondering if anyone else was out there. Today, we stand among friends, partners, and allies. We've learned that we're not alone, we never were. But we've also learned that the galaxy needed us too, needed our chaos, our innovation, our unique brand of hopeful stupidity. So thank you for taking a chance on us. Thank you for protecting us, and thank you for letting us prove that sometimes the youngest voice in the room has something worth hearing. The council erupted in approval, a cacophony of sounds, lights, and signals that the translation matrix struggled to process. It was unanimous. Humanity had been accepted not just as members, but as equals. As the celebration continued, Maria found herself standing with Ambassador Shalara and Observer Talvin, looking out at the gathered species. "You were right," Maria said to Talvin. "We are catalysts. We're changing the galaxy. I just hope we're changing it for the better." Shalara's form rippled warmly. "You already have, Captain. The Council has approved 17 new exploration initiatives based on human enthusiasm. 3 species who hadn't spoken in millennia are now collaborating on joint projects inspired by your example. Even the harvesters are considering reforming their collection protocols galaxy-wide. You didn't just save Earth. You've started to save us from our own stagnation." Talvin's eye stalk swiveled toward Earth's image on the display. "The question now is, what will humanity do next? You've achieved first contact, survived your first galactic threat, and earned Council membership. You've accomplished in 1 year what takes most species decades. What's next for the species that doesn't know how to slow down?" Maria grinned. "Observer, I thought you knew us better than that. We're going to do what we always do. We're going to reach further, dream bigger, and find new ways to surprise everyone, including ourselves. We've got 10,000 years of partnership with the Harvesters to honor. We've got a galaxy full of wonders to explore. And we've got 847 new friends to learn from." She paused, her grin widening. "Also, Kowalski has been talking with some council engineers about a new drive system that supposedly violates several fundamental principles of reality. So that's happening. Probably going to give the council another heart attack, metaphorically speaking. But hey, that's what you signed up for when you welcomed humanity." Talvin's eye stalks quivered with what might have been amusement or resignation or both. "Observer's log, supplemental," he said formally. "Humanity has been council members for 1 standard cycle. They have already proposed 6 projects that terrify our safety committees, formed alliances with species that previously barely interacted, and accidentally invented 2 new forms of art. My prediction, within 10 cycles, they will either revolutionize galactic civilization or accidentally cause a small diplomatic incident with a major power, possibly both. Personal note: I have never been more excited or terrified to observe a species in my 3,000 cycles of service." As the celebration continued, Maria looked up at the stars visible through the transparent dome of the council chamber. Each one might have civilizations, people looking up at their own skies, wondering what was out there. And now humanity was part of the answer. They were the new voices, the fresh perspective, the species that had clawed its way from a single planet to galactic membership in less than 300 years. The universe was vast, mysterious, and full of wonders and dangers, but humanity had proven something important. They belonged here. Not because they were perfect, but because they were perfectly willing to try, to fail, to learn, and to try again. Earth's children had come home to the galaxy, and the galaxy would never be the same. Final note: the Alien Council's nightmare had begun when humans exited the quarantine sector. But perhaps nightmare was the wrong word. Perhaps it was a wake-up call, a reminder that the universe rewarded the bold, the curious, and the stubbornly hopeful. Humanity, with all its flaws and all its potential, had arrived among the stars. And against all odds, against all predictions, they had not just survived, they had thrived. The galaxy was watching. The galaxy was waiting. And humanity, true to form, was already planning its next impossible achievement. Because that's what humanity does best: hold the universe's beer and make the impossible look easy.